So Shadowlands has been out for almost a couple weeks now, and the overwhelming reception to the expansion is positive. People are liking being able to play the game how they want. They don't feel that they're forced to do things that they don't want to do, like having to do PvP if you're a PvE player. And people are generally liking the world and the new expansion features. There is one feature, however, that people are a little bit divided on, and that is Torghast. In today's video, I'm going to talk about 3 problems with Torghast and how we can fix them. So Torghast is a new feature of Shadowlands, and it is a endless rogue-like type of dungeon. You have a limited amount of lives to complete the dungeon, and you collect anima powers and phantasma along the way, and those items will increase the power level of your character, making it easier to progress through the content. So there's a lot of positive feedback about Torghast, and there's also some negative. It's a bit of a split in the community right now. I personally enjoy Torghast to a degree, but there are things that I don't like about it. So I'm going to talk about the 3 problems with Torghast as of right now. So the first big problem with Torghast is the fact that it is basically mandatory. Now, this wouldn't necessarily be a problem in other games or maybe in other expansions, but the whole theme of Shadowlands, something that the devs talked about quite a bit and that the players really wanted, was that this expansion you could really go back to doing what you wanted. If you wanted to gear through PvP, you could. If you just wanted to do PvE, you could. If you just wanted to do quests or do stuff with your Covenant and gear up through anima, like world quests, things like that, you could. They've taken out the requirement to do things that you don't like to do. So that's been the big focus here in this expansion. And legendary powers are more or less something that everybody is going to want to get, and they're definitely going to be mandatory for higher levels of content. I really like how the legendary system requires crafting, so there's a bit of a barrier to entry rather than just getting them like you did in Legion or in Battle for Azeroth. However, the problem I have with Torghast is that in order to get the Soul Ash required for your legendary, you have to do Torghast. Every week, no matter what, I have to run Torghast. If I don't like doing Torghast, I still have to do it. This goes counter to the messaging we've been getting this whole expansion, which is basically Burger King style, have it your way. You can play the game the way you want to and not really be penalized for it. So having Torghast be a mandatory thing that you have to do every single week feels like it goes against that philosophy, and I think that's the biggest problem with Torghast at the moment. If you don't want to do it, if you don't like the dungeon crawler thing, if you'd rather spend your time doing PvP or PvE, you should be able to and not feel like you're going to miss out on your legendary. Because even the other parts of the legendary, you can just buy the base item, you can buy the missives, but you cannot buy the Soul Ash. This problem is exacerbated by the other 2 points that I'm going to make. So let's talk about the second problem with Torghast. The second problem with Torghast is the balance. The biggest problem with Torghast difficulty is the variance in how difficult the game can be and the run can be. I did Torghast on my shaman, who is a healer, and it was laughably easy. At no point was I ever really in trouble of dying, and the bosses were an absolute joke. because I could just summon Earth Elemental and a million different totems that auto heal me. So I could just focus on DPSing the boss and stunning it, and it really didn't present a challenge at all. Whereas on my Paladin, my Ret Paladin, it was actually more difficult, and mobs throughout the dungeon could kill me, and the end boss actually was, at one point I got stuck on one of the bosses and was unable to complete it, and then later on as I got a little bit stronger and I took a little more time through the dungeon, I was able to beat it, but it was still required me to play my character at a high level. Now these things aren't necessarily a problem in and of themselves, but when paired with the first issue that it's mandatory, that could be an issue. If you had trouble getting through Torghast because you weren't geared enough, or you just weren't good enough at your character, then it presents a path for you to improve at the game. Difficulty and challenge is not something that should be shunned. I'm okay with that. The problem is that it's mandatory, and we kind of have come to expect a certain level of easiness with World of Warcraft. So if someone who is a newer player and maybe not super hardcore, and they just hit 60 and they maybe got a couple pieces of crafted gear and ran a couple dungeons, and then it was, Sunday or Monday night, and they're like, oh crap, I gotta do Torghast so I can get my legendary. If they go in there and try to do it themselves and they get stuck, that's a problem because of the mandatory nature of Torghast. People are also saying that as tanks, healers, it's laughably easy, and then with other DPS, it's incredibly difficult. And some DPS are better than others. Like, you can imagine a hunter is gonna, especially a beast mastery hunter, is gonna have a much easier time doing it than like an elemental shaman, or even a class that may not have a healer or tank option available to them. You also shouldn't have to change specs and play specs that you don't want to play in order to complete Torghast, which is supposed to be fun. Again, it being mandatory definitely has some problems here. It would be nice if there was a way that you could scale the difficulty. You can make it a little easier, a little bit harder, based on how your skill level, and you could increase the rewards from it. And there could be, some option to change how difficult the run can be. The other thing too is that it goes back to playing your own way. Is I tried to go through it very quickly. I tried to speed run it on my Paladin week 1 because it was Monday night and I needed to get it done. And I should have the option to do that. If I want to take my time, I should have the option. If I want to go really fast and get it done and have it be a little more challenging, especially the bosses, that shouldn't be a problem. That should be allowed. But when I did that, I was able to get through the first layer, and the boss was somewhat difficult and challenging, but it was doable. Then when I got to layer 2 and I did the same thing, I speed ran it, again because that should be an option that I have. It was impossible. It was extremely challenging and difficult, and I had to make sure I timed my defensive cooldown, and I had to time my stun, and I had to time my interrupt. But at the end, when he got about 30% health, the ability to interrupt his main damage ability was no longer available, and it literally made the boss fight impossible. So that's problematic. I know that you people say you're supposed to go through it slowly. I should have the option to speed run it if I want to, though, especially because it's mandatory. If it wasn't mandatory, I wouldn't have wanted to do it at all. So, again, number 1 problem, the fact that it's mandatory, and the number 2 problem, the varying difficulty, because again, it's jokeably, laughably easy on a healer, and on DPS, it can be difficult to impossible. And finally, the third big problem with Torghast is the fact that it doesn't reward anything other than Soul Ash. I haven't gotten a single piece of blue or even green gear from it. I don't know if that's something that can drop from it, but I don't think it can. I've never gotten anything and I haven't seen anybody talk about it. You should be able to get gear for doing Torghast, especially if you're someone who really likes Torghast. What if you just want to go run Torghast all day long and you don't want to do dungeons because you just want to play yourself? Well, you're going to get behind in gear. You're not going to get any gear. You're going to be stuck in the same gear. You're going to have to go do other content for it. And it seems to me that Torghast is not doable in all types of gear. It was significantly easier on my Paladin this week after I picked up Sorrowbane and I leveled up some of my PvP gear up to 171. It was significantly easier, but I feel like if I'm going to have to be forced to spend time doing this every single week in order to get my Soul Ash, I should at least have some gear, even if it's just 158 dungeon gear, drop from doing Torghast. It doesn't have to be every run, it doesn't have to be guaranteed, but something other than just the currency necessary to collect my legendary weapon would be nice, because I'm forced to spend time there every week, when honestly I would rather be doing something else, at least on some of my characters. It's a lot more fun on my Paladin. I don't mind doing it because he's a killer anyway. He kills things. But I really don't want to do it on my healer. I don't enjoy doing it, and I really don't want to switch specs because number one, it's more difficult, and number two, I don't want to play those specs. I want to play the healer. That's what his job is. That's what he does. So how could we improve Torghast? I think the best way to improve Torghast would be to make Soul Ash no longer exclusively come from Torghast. Have Soul Ash be available through all types of content, through Torghast, through dungeons, through PvP, through mythic dungeons, even from world quests. Have it be available, have it be guaranteed so you know how much you'd have to do every week in order to get the Soul Ash cap. You still can get it from Torghast if you want to run the Torghast floor, but making it come from any source would really fit more into the philosophy of being able to play the game your own way. Also, if we're going to be doing that, we should make Torghast be an alternative gearing source. So if you want to just play Torghast all day long, then you can, and you will actually gear up from it. Make it just like the PvP vendor, where you get 158 dungeon gear that you can buy with a currency. Then you can upgrade that to 164 and then finally to 171. And then as more renown, you get more renown, you can upgrade it further. That would make Torghast a path that people could follow if they really liked Torghast and really wanted to play it. So there you have it. That's 3 problems with Torghast and how we could fix them. I think it would be an amazing fix if they decided to do what I just said there. I think it'd be amazing. It would make Torghast better for the people who love Torghast already. And then for the people who don't want to do it, they don't feel that they're forced to do it anymore. And then they could even, and for people like me who are in the middle, who like it to an extent, but I don't want to run it, 2 times on 2 different characters every single week, and 2 more times on every other character that I get leveled up. I think that would be a great fix. That would make everybody happy and would fix one of the only real points of contention in the expansion, because everything else in the expansion is pretty great. People are having a good time. I haven't seen Warcraft this united in a long time. People are actually happy with the game. I love the game. It's fun to play. I'm not really getting tired of it. Torghast is just that one little area that could use some improvement. thank you so much for checking out this video. If you like this video, hit that like button and please subscribe to the channel. We talk about Warcraft, we talk about Hearthstone. You can also follow us on twitch.tv. The link will be in the bottom, where we stream Warcraft and Hearthstone weekly. So for everyone here at Brick Gaming, I'm Lex Law. Thank you so much for checking out this video today. Go out there and do Torghast if you want to. Peace.